Training for muscle growth is honestly pretty simple. The exercises, rep ranges, and frequencies per muscle group can all be pretty flexible based on your personal preferences and still maximize results. However, the foundation of any effective training program is ensuring sufficient effort on every set you perform. The challenging thing here is that there are multiple factors that detract from our ability to sense when we're really giving it our all. In today's video, I'm going to discuss a practical tip to better fine-tune your effort in the gym. Now, I want to give some background on why I'm making this video. I typically train alone in the early mornings for the better part of most sessions. As of right now, my training for most exercises is really simple. 3 sets to failure with a target repetition range of somewhere around 8 to 10 reps. When I exceed 10 reps, I add some load, rinse and repeat. Recently though, I had a friend in town and we were able to train together for multiple sessions. These workouts were awesome and I realized that I may not be applying as much effort as I thought when I'm alone, and I think this is a pretty common experience. Now, this could turn into an entire video of how powerful a good training partner can be, but I think there's more to it than that. It's well documented that most people have no idea what true failure is in the gym. For example, a meta-analysis by Halpern and colleagues found that the average self-selected training load was right around 53% of 1RM. Using the most robust data that we have on the number of repetitions that are possible at a given relative load from Nuzzo and colleagues, this would estimate around 23 possible repetitions. Assuming a standard target repetition range of around 8 to 12 reps per set, this would be anywhere from 11 to 15 reps in reserve, which is obviously too far from failure to be optimizing gains in muscle size or strength. Moreover, we know from another meta-analysis by Halpern and colleagues that lifters' perception of their proximity to failure gets substantially less accurate with sets of 12 reps or more. My point here is there's some inaccuracy with how hard you push yourself, and it's a common occurrence in the research. The common response to this idea is to point out the training status or lack thereof of the population studied and their consequent lack of experience when training to true failure. While I completely understand the sentiment, I still think this is something that serious lifters need to be aware of. Taking myself for example, and while by no means am I a world-class strength athlete, I've been training seriously for close to 10 years with my bench, squat, bench, and deadlift at 500, 319, and 540 pounds respectively, and this is still something that creeps up on me from time to time, as I kind of mentioned in that original story. The same can be said for some of my clients who range from recreational lifters all the way up to world-class powerlifters. Add on to the fact that our research group has done quite a bit of research on this very topic, I like to think that we're pretty well versed on what true failure is, what it feels like, and ultimately how it can be deceiving with the multiple inputs that go into that equation. So ultimately, what did I learn from this experience and what can we do to address it? At first, I really tried to think pretty hard about what the actual problem is. Why are we stopping our sets prematurely despite a desire not to do so and a solid awareness of the potential biases in our estimation of our performance capacity? My hunch is that there's a relationship between our movement velocity early in a set and our perception of effort later in the set. So by focusing on moving every single rep as fast as possible, I think our perception of effort will be much more accurate. To some degree, this seems obvious, but let's play out a practical example. Let's say you're shooting for a set of 12 reps that ends in failure on the leg press. The first few reps that are going into that set are going to be pretty easy, and most of the time people just cruise through these repetitions, somewhat viewing them as just a necessary evil or a necessary stop along the way to the reps that ultimately count at the end of the set. And while I think this is an entirely reasonable position, the more that I've messed around with this in my own training, I think focusing on maximally accelerating each rep may have more benefits than meets the eye for such a simple change. In the research, the role of concentric effort is relatively well explored for strength, showing greater strength gains when repetitions are performed with maximal concentric intended velocity, likely because of the greater amount of force produced at a given mass. Alternatively, for hypertrophy, the data are much less clear, with only a few studies looking at this directly that don't paint a clear picture by any means. For the most part, though, I think the potential advantages are primarily logistical. First, when experimenting this with myself, my perception of effort just seems to be much more accurate. By accelerating the load as fast as possible early in a set, my hunch is that your brain senses that your performance capacity far exceeds the current demands and consequently doesn't have much negative feedback by way of things like muscular discomfort. Second, while we don't have direct evidence on this that I'm aware of, I'd speculate that training with maximal concentric intent on every single rep allows you to get a very solid training stimulus far from failure. I'll plug a video I did on this in the past that kind of explains my logic for this point. Though, even if you do a set and end it earlier than you intended, by using maximal concentric intent, you may be getting a better training stimulus than you would otherwise. Finally, and purely just using lifter logic here, the sets feel far more stimulative to me. By all bro metrics, my workouts have been substantially better since I've used this principle. My performance has improved, I've gotten better pumps, and a bit of soreness in muscles that typically require way more volume to do so for me. At the end of the day, we know we need to train hard to maximize our results. As you gain experience in the gym, you get a better understanding of what this means and ultimately how to achieve it. That said, even experienced lifters can use reminders of what maximal effort really means from time to time. In my experience, taking some principles from the strength world, and in this case using maximal intended concentric velocity on every rep, seems to substantially improve my perception of effort and performance along the way. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, and let us know what you'd like to see in the comments below. If you want more free content like this directly in your inbox, sign up for our newsletter, which is the first link below.